Okay, so here we're just going to take a quick look at my collection of Sega Saturn games. Nearly all of them, or maybe I should just be frank and say all of them are imports from Japan, because I only have a Japanese Saturn. I'll probably cover the console itself in another video, but for right now this is just the software that I own. And I pretty much have everything that I want out of the system. If there are a couple of gems that anybody could recommend or that I come across, then I'll add them at that time. Okay, and some of the software you might have seen in the Virtua Fighter collection, but I'm putting them in there again anyway, because the games are just that awesome, so expect a few repeats. So going from the top, we have Roommate Ryoko. This one is still sealed. Haven't played it yet, but I heard it's very good. Probably when I'm in a retirement home one day, I'll get out of the backlog of games and I'll play it then. This one you just saw in my Virtua Fighter collection. This is the original release of Virtua Fighter that came with the Sega Saturn. Virtua Fighter Remix, much better improved version than the launch day release that came with the Saturn. Virtua Fighter 2, probably the pinnacle of 3D fighting games on the Saturn right now. And then we're just going to jump into Rockman 8, Metal Heroes. Excellent game. Probably definitely the very last good game. I'm not knocking on Rockman 9, the one that was digital release only for the PS3, 360, and the Wii, but I found this one to be the most inspired and probably the last inspired Rockman game of the original series. Then we have the Capcom Generations. This is Volume 1, the shooters, 1942, 1943, 1943 Kai. Then we have Volume 2. This is the Ghouls and Ghosts version, aka the Makamura. I think it's Dai Makamura, and Cho Makamura. I know I just screwed up the Japanese pronunciation there so lovely, so bear with me. And Volume 3, this is actually the least popular of either the Saturn or PlayStation iterations of this Capcom Generation series, as Sansan and Pirate Ship Hijimaru, and you know what, I might as well have to flip it to the back so that way you could actually see the game, because I actually forgot a couple of them. I think Xevious? Probably, this one didn't age too well in my mind, because even though I played a hell of a lot of it to get to unlock some of the content, I really didn't play it that often, or I'm not familiar with the games that much in the West to comment on them fully. Notice between 3 and 5, there's usually 4. I skipped part 4 because I already have that for the PlayStation, and I bought these games because the Sega Saturn has better RAM capabilities when it comes to manipulating and handling 2D games most of the time, so saw the difference. There was actually almost no difference in Volume 4, so that's why I just chose to omit it, let it rest on the PS1, and just keep going with the Sega Saturn versions. And there's a dramatic version here. We have Volume 5. This is the Street Fighter 2 collection. Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Dash, Street Fighter Gold Champion Edition, and Hyper Fighting. And there's a dramatic difference in the load times. You're not going to find arcade perfect emulation, but it's a much better port than its PS1 cousin. Then you have Marvel Superheroes. This is a favorite of mine. It's nowhere close to being as smooth as the arcade, but it does utilize the extra RAM, the 4 megabyte RAM cartridge that some Sega Saturn games employ, and I'll be showing that coming up. And it makes the gameplay slightly smoother, but with 17 seconds of load time between fights, not between rounds, but between fights, and there are still good chunks of missing animation. I don't know why they just opted for 3 megabytes, but again, it's better than nothing, and it is better than the PS1 version. And we have Tenshiwo Corral. This is Warriors of Fate 2. It's like a hack and slash beat 'em up similar to Final Fight. Damn it. It's very good also. One of the main reasons why I purchased the Saturn. We have a Pocket Fighter right here. Again, this also utilizes the 4MB RAM cartridge. I didn't buy this version because I had previously bought a RAM cartridge when I bought X-Men vs. Street Fighter and Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. And the same applies to Dungeons and Dragons Collection, which as a port, it's kind of choppy. The second game, I think it's Tower of Mystara, and I'm gonna have to double check on that. Don't quote me on that because the facts may be screwed up right now. Is handles much better than the first game. It's I don't want to say it's a bad port or horrible, but considering the architecture of the Saturn and what they had to work with, I think it handled pretty much well. This one also utilizes the RAM cart in a much better fashion. This is a Street Fighter 2 movie. It's not actually a game. It's you play through a abridged version of the Street Fighter 2 anime, and then you take the role of a monitor cyborg, and then you capture moves. It's interesting, but mostly just for a collector's item. Same applies here to Super Adventure Rockman. It's a great animation, great detail. The gameplay is very simplistic, but then again, it's a great collector's item, highly recommended. Rockman X3, this is the re-release of the Rockman X3 that was on the Super Famicom, Super NES, just with some added cinematic intros and interspersed cutscenes with new anime cutscenes. And then this is probably one of my favorite on the Sega Saturn. It's the limited edition of the Cyberbots Full Metal Madness collection. I'm going to probably do a separate video just on the contents of that game alone because it's definitely awesome. And then I'm just going to scroll all the way down here. Sega Saturn version of Biohazard. It has a slight, don't want to call them defects, slight differences due to the hardware from the original PlayStation version, but it also has the battle mode that's been infamous and implemented in future Biohazard titles, and so it's very good. On some occasions I enjoy it much more than the original PlayStation version, but to each his own. Then we have Vampire Hunter, very great game. Kuznanairo Dreams, again, another classic. You see a lot of these characters popping up in games like Pocket Fighter, Tatsunoko vs. Capcom and such, right there. Street Fighter Zero, again a classic. I prefer Zero, probably it's the first and favorite iteration in the Zero franchise. Then we have the boxed version of X-Men vs. Street Fighter. This is including the 4MB RAM cartridge right there. Special edition, as well as Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, including the 4MB RAM cartridge. So, yeah, between these two, you notice I don't have a Street Fighter 02 or Street Fighter 03. It's because I already own it on the PlayStation, and Street Fighter 03 have at least 3 times on the Street Fighter 0 Fighters Generation for the PS2, Street Fighter 03 Saikyo Ryu Dojo for the Dreamcast, and also Street Fighter 03 for the PlayStation, so that'd be kind of overkill. I'm just satisfied with the Sega Saturn version for right now. I also own this game on the PS1, but actually the first version of the game runs beautifully, no qualms about it. So there it is in a nutshell, Sega Saturn software collection, and hopefully we'll get into Cyberbots in another video in the future, okay? Bye.